one of the things that I was um, doing that was false on the spiritual path, right up until a very specific moment that happened in the next room over a decade ago, was I was thinking that I was really deep into it, and like, what is self? What is no self? What is ego? What is no ego? And this is very common for a lot of spiritual seekers. I was still thinking that what I wanted out of spirituality, which was in the language that I was using at the time, was spiritual awakening. Those were the teachers. They were called spiritual awakening. So I wanted spiritual awakening. That it was, there was this, like, I was going to get this experience of no self. And it was like, what that was like, but subtly though, I was thinking, oh, it's a higher, better experience. It's a better self. It's a better version, like, and it's out there. And I think what happened on that day was that I really saw the fallacy. It was an article I was reading. I saw the fallacy, because the article really just hit the nail on the head with this, that it's not that there's no self. It's that there's no small self. There's no large self. There's no big thing out there that's going to save your ass.
Yes.
Nothing. There's no, and then where does that put you then? Right here. You can't move an inch beyond your skin if there's nothing else. If you realize that deeply, that there's no self great, no self small, there's no self of any sort that is going to save your ass, because it doesn't exist, because it's a fantasy, it's a fiction, it's false, it's an illusion that lands you right back in your skin. And in that moment, I is when I, like, when it clicked, and all of those three parts of that stool went bing, bing, bing. And it's not like they lit it. It wasn't, fireworks, none of that shit.
Yeah,
it wasn't any of that bullshit. I didn't even know it happened. It took me 3 or 4 weeks to realize, like, oh, you know what? My depression's gone. You know what? My anxiety, my hatred of myself is gone, which I had a lot of. And it was that letting go of that false idea that anything was going to save me, that any philosophical part, a greater part, that there was some greater part of me that I just needed to connect with. It's when you let it all go that you land back here in the body. Thus, all of the exercises about the body, because you then realize it was never anywhere other than right here. And it's a lot less simple, you see, than the brain wants to make it. Our heads want to make it spectacular. They want to make it spiritual. They want to make it otherworldly, other dimension, whatever, when it actually is right back here.
Reminds me of that. If you ever, I don't remember what book it was in or where it came from, but Vonnegut had this thing where everything is nothing with a twist, and it was like a picture of the zero, and then he took the zero and just twisted it into an infinity sign.
Oh,
and it's just this really cool thing, because it's like you realize that nothing is everything, and everything is nothing, and it has that kind of
that is awesome.
Yeah, I'll email it. I'll find it. It's gone around the internet as a meme, but I think somebody took it from one of his books. So I forget which one.
Well, so I'm communicating that to you because like I don't want to be, I should say, when I communicate that to you, I don't want to be flippant about it. I don't want that to be like, oh, it was just so easy. It was not fucking easy. Coming to that realization was a lot of fucking hard work that led to, in that moment, what appeared to be simple, but it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of soul. It was a lot of like meeting my edge of my fear. It was about going to the limits of what was I willing to go to. We talked about this last week, Robert, of what, at what point do I make a choice between continuing to feel depressed, continuing to feel false, and then the other not so good choice of meeting a big old black wall of fear that looks like your death and feels like your death. And it's at that point where you're like, yeah, okay, I'm done with the bullshit. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I got to stop running. I got to just, you know, it's kind of right at that point. And even then, saying that, I don't want that to be flippant, because you just can't do that either. You just can't summons that. It's like that kind of comes and goes on its own accord. It's got its own, it's a wily fucking dragon, that one. And you can't predict it. You can only taunt it. You can only taunt that dragon. And it will show up when it wants to, when you're, you know, utterly surprised by it. But that's what I'm saying, is that there was a lot of that done, and I'm sharing this with you because I know that that's a valuable thing to hear. That meeting those moments of breaking down our ego, of breaking down our notions of what spirituality is, what self is, etc., and cracking the ice and experiencing fear is a genuine part of this process. And I had, when hanging out with my teachers, it really helped me when they would confess that, when they would speak that, when they would share that, hey, I went through this, and then, you know, and that what that did, you see, was it's a process of green lighting. It's like we have Jeff here, we have Tom here, and we have Robert here. But that kind of thing, if your body is in tune, I'm speaking at a, you know, my intention is I'm speaking to the one awareness that's among us three gentlemen, and it hears it. Yeah. And it goes, oh, really? I'm worthy of that? Your whole body, emotional awareness, intellectual makeup hears that and says, this is how it was for me, guys. Thank you for acknowledging that I can do this too, you know. And my body heard that from teachers. I was like, thank you for being fucking real with me.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for doing that. Thank you for saying to me, you're broken. We talked about this last week too, Robert. You're fucked up, but you know what? You can do this too, because you're worthy of this too. Your body, your makeup is, you don't need to be special.
Yeah.
You can be broken and wounded and not be perfect, not be smart, super, you know, intellectual. You don't need any of that. You just need to be real and raw.
Yeah.
You know. So,
well, you know, my expectation, I guess, is setting that correctly, is getting spiritual, you know, again, destination spirituality, where I'm not going to have emotional ups and downs. I'm going to get over ego. I'm going to get over anger and never get angry again. Learning that that's not realistic. You know, I think that's what drew me once I started reading your book and listening to you so much, Jay, is being real. You know, every day there's still going to be a struggle. It's learning how to be okay with those struggles, and I guess realize they're never going to go away. once I realized that there's not a destination where everything's gonna be perfect, I'm never gonna be upset. Once I realized that is normal and it's learning to be okay in there, then it totally changed my look at things. But I still need to do that. Because there's still days where I get upset. I shouldn't get upset anymore. Well, that's bullshit.
Right.
And that is a huge paradigm shift for me. You know,
That's great.
facing this, living on the top of, on top of the mountain and everyone coming to say, and burn candles around me or something. It's not going to be that. Yeah. We're not going to open all our chakras while standing in the line at Walmart, right? We're not going to do that. So so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I think too that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think that at what I'm kind of seeing as we're talking, it's like the ego or that there's one part of the mind that's kind of saying, this is all going to go away. This is all going to go away. And if you let go, this is all going to go away. And it's like you start to gain this faith, for lack of a better word, that you know what, if I let go, it's all still going to be there. It's like, for me, it's because I'm just like Robert said, I have these, I have the moments, I have the days, I have, where you get into that ego and you get into that, that the anger and all the stuff, but you kind of realize that it's going to be a constant thing of course correction. It's always going to be I'm going to go a little in this direction and I'm going to shift back, and that's going to be and you're just constantly finding that center. And some days you'll nail it and some days you won't, but it's there. It's it's all there. So the ego is like saying, no, if you let go, this self that you're so attached to is just going to dissipate into nothingness, and you start to be afraid. But then you realize that no, I can snap back into it, when I want. But like you said, it's hard. it's friggin' hard to kind of find that balance. But then I start to get okay with it being hard, which is weird,
I think for me it was noticing I had this really deep sense of awareness of this emptiness. I had done a lot of work like this and was grateful to have been given the opportunity to get in touch with it in such an intimate way, that I knew that awareness would get me through the deep fear.
Right.
What I knew, because I had anxiety attacks as part of my invitation from spirituality, like these big, as I wrote about in my book, where I would have these horrible bone chilling, I would get all tense, and my body would shake, and I was just mortally afraid of that I was going to die. And for me, it was also more than just a physical thing. It was like an existential, I went and I literally, I felt like I was fucking with the thread of the universe. And why the fuck did you do that? You should not have done that. And I was sitting there yanking on that thread. And then my body recoiled in that, and it began this process of these anxiety attacks. And it wasn't until I was running from them, they would happen, and I was they would happen, and I thought, well, I'd have the bravado to meet it, and no, my tail will go between my legs, and I'm brakes on, no thank you. I was staving it off, and I would do all these things to create distraction in my life in order to push it off. I would unplug from all things spiritual, and I would run, and months would go by before I would do anything. But then it would come back for whatever reason. I was at a movie theater, I would smoke some pot or whatever, it would come back. And then I'm finally, I could no longer avoid it. And I was just fuck this shit. I'm so done running from you, bitch. Come get me, dragon.
Yeah.
And it was what got me through it was this strength that I had built up of internal awareness. I knew that I could stand in that island, like, as I said last week, Robert, while this nuclear bomb was breathed out of this dragon and incinerated me. I knew that I could stand in that island. I had confidence and awareness. And really, gentlemen, if we really want to get real here, is that that's all that, when we're dead and buried, what's going to be left? These bodies go.
Mm-hmm.
These emotional bodies go too, and our intellectual mind, that's I don't know what's going to be left of that, but I can't imagine a whole lot. So what is going to be left? What is left is the primal substance of our consciousness, of our awareness. And I don't even know, because when I say that like that, and concerning death and whatnot, I can't even be sure of what part of that is going to be left.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't experienced death, so I don't really know. But as a trial run, what I'm saying is that this process of getting clear and of being present in this life and of being okay in this life has a lot to do with meeting that fear before we die and noticing this awareness. So that I think, and I've written about this before, like, I don't know what happens after death, but I do know that any experience that you meet with clarity and awareness is generally going to end up a better experience.
Yes.
It's going to end up a better experience. So I have a hunch that when we die, if we're aware in our deaths, that it'll be a better experience. I don't know what that experience will be.